Hey guys, this is Angry Dave here. We are going to be doing our next installment of Boom Beach Hits. This is going to be the second hit on the top shield generators on the base Harmony, and you'll notice there's going to be a slight difference. This is we have a hit one on this for the first hit, but the second hit is going to be a slightly different base because we had a breezy after the first hits on the very first Boom Beach hits we did on Harmony top shield generators. So this one's going to be the second hit. It's going to be slightly different base setup, but overall everything's pretty much standard. So this one is actually one of my accounts, and I'm rocking 6 GB, 4 troop damage. There is a slight tribe boost with gunboat energy, so that's why you'll see the increased gunboat energy percentage. As always, we're going to go ahead and run this through one time, and then after that we'll go ahead and break it on down. So I am doing a flag landing, letting troops gather to the left there, and then flaring up. And the girls are just walking. They don't need to be all nice and tight at this point because they're going to get tight around the cells when we get that going there. We can speed up through this just a little bit. Now, one thing that's really important to note, I see a lot of guys on this base take a ton of cells. Only just need a couple because each cell, when you have dual cores on Duplexity, you get double the gunboat energy gained back. So instead of getting 3 per cell, you're getting 6. So, and it can add up really fast, so you don't need a ton of cells. So really key here, just flaring to get my troops gathered up nice and tight, and then flare into this position at 3 o'clock of this cell right here. And then you'll watch, you'll see the CMO range. You notice how Brick is in the troops. She's not leading the way because if she leads the way, she takes a CMO shot to the face. Nobody wants that. Now we're taking a slightly different path. We're actually cutting over when doing the second shields here on this base versus going all the way up to the top corner and then going to the right. So this one we are actually standing on the hot pot. And the goal is to get these last 3 shield generators. So flare, critter, shock, shock, shock. So 5 shocks and a critter. The critter really was just for this shock blaster here. The shock blaster did not get shot. And we make it down, parting the last little bit. Everything else is pretty much dead here. Drop a couple artilleries. Now one thing I didn't want to do is I didn't want to drop any more artilleries than that because I didn't want to potentially risk the bug where if you kill your shield, your last generator after your troops are dead, the entire shield stays up. So definitely wanted to avoid that. So let's go ahead and break it on down. So right here, all I'm doing is a flag landing. Now, a lot of times, this is just cannons, so that's why I did a flag landing here. No smokes or anything. A lot of times, these are sniper towers, and sometimes you may want to, just depending on the defenses, you may want to either drop a smoke on the beach or do a flare deploy and then keep them tight along the wall here. So it just kind of depends. On this one, we took out the front 3 defenses. Those are gone, and so this was a really easy beach for me to land on, so I didn't need to do anything. I could do a flag landing and go ahead and let the troops, take a cell or 2. Really, I'm just waiting for them to gather up. I'm not worried about actually taking a cell. And flaring up to this top corner here and letting troops walk nice and straight. I do lose the last little Zuka to the cannon shot down at the bottom there, but that's okay. That's not a big deal. Okay, so just taking a few cells here and then flaring over. The purpose of this flare isn't, really strategic or anything. It's just at this point, because I did flag landing, my troops were, and they took a few cells, my troops were really spread out. So I wanted to make sure that they got in nice and tight before I start doing them, sending them on their walk. So I'm letting them gather up there. I'm not worried about taking a cell at that point, but then I flare right here at 3 o'clock of this last cell. This flare point is really, really important. This is the way that you can save bricks. So these shield generators up top were, I believe, about 375 to 400,000 per shield generator. So we need brick on these types of hits because the health is just so high. So I need to be able to save her and get her all the way up there. So what I do is I flare at 3 o'clock. If you notice, this CMO is out of range, just slightly out of range. And same is this CMO, is just slightly out of range of my flare point. The goal is that the brick will get there first, but brick will sit there and turn left and just stand and look at and target the cell to the left of her. Okay? The troops, some will start to leak to the right. And the purpose of that is you want the troops leading the way, not brick, because otherwise if she's leading the way, she's going to take a CMO shot to the face and you're going to lose her. So really important to watch that, and let's go. So put a smoke on the troops. Flare up. Now my flare point on this one is right above this cell here. Oh, it's not letting me tap it while I'm in pause mode. So it's right above the cell against the wall, and it makes my pathing over a lot easier when scooting over to the right. So just a heads up, that's where the cell is. Now, if you notice, as soon as my flare went up, you can see right here, Zookas start traveling, but Zookas are leading the way. Brick is in the middle of the pack, which is exactly what you want because the Zookas will take the CMO fire from both CMOs. So I'm going to play this in half speed, that way you guys can see. And at this point, I'm just smoking accordingly. Now, Brick does start to lead the way because obviously she's faster than the troops. But she's ahead of the CMO at this point. So the CMOs are still going to target troops. So don't be too scared that and panic and think you have to shock CMOs. You're really getting her past the barbed wire and past the first couple of cells. Then after that, she will get ahead, but that's okay because at that point, she's too far ahead of the CMOs. Not out of CMO range, but ahead enough where the troops are what the CMOs will see first and will pick off first. Get a smoke up there. It's really important. Now, if you notice, Brick is really close to that smoke edge. Keep in mind, Brick, because there's these cells down below, Brick will travel back down to the cells. So I wasn't panicking and throwing a panic smoke thinking Brick was going to walk up and I have to burn another smoke to cover her and make sure I don't lose her. As soon as she hits that flare point, she's going to drop down and target these cells down low. That's why we don't flare too high. So she's going to anchor on these cells, so we're okay not dropping a panic smoke or anything like that. If you notice, I did get my flare over. My flare point is right here. You can zoom in, it's super tight. Right on this T, you can see these lines here, below the barbed wire, but between the cells. Right there where these lines intersect, that is my flare point, which you'll see coming up here. And there it is, the flare lands. The flare was already out by this point. But the flare lands right on the T, and then as soon as I shoot the flare over, I get my smoke. And on this transition smoke, I recommend smoking slightly heavier than you normally will. Normally you try and space out smokes as much as possible, but because of the way the troops may travel, you just may want to overlap your smokes just a bit on this one here. So there it is. Now I get an idea of how the troops in Brick are traveling. I can space out my smokes a little bit more on this one here. Now, did a double smoke at this point. One there and one there. And we're going to go ahead and flare on the middle hot pot. Now, it's always risky business standing on a hot pot, but that's okay. Alright, so we'll go ahead and pause it right there. So now we have 3 shields to take out. One of them is pretty damaged. One is half damaged, so that's a good thing. Now, we've got 5 shocks in order to do our work here. So, first thing we have to shock are the fast fire defenses right next to our troops, which is going to be all these machine guns and, of course, these hot pots that we're standing on. But, of course, we don't want to place a shock on the hot pots because we're just going to shock our troops, and that's going to be all bad. So, your 2 shock points. are on this machine gun. So second in from the right, and then the second in from the left. So these are going to be your 2 shock points there and there. Okay? Then after that, we've got rocket launchers. So you will do a shock, and I like to go left from right on these rocket launchers, just because closeness of the troops, and it's a little easier motion for me. So you want to do a shock on this middle rocket launcher, and that'll get all 3 of these. And what you'll do is you'll skip 2 rocket launchers from where you did the middle shock. You shock the middle rocket launcher. You will skip this one. You will skip this one, and you will place your shock right here on this rocket launcher. So which is the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th in from the left. Okay. So second in from the left. Skip 2 rocket launchers. You hit the 5th in from the left. Now that shock, this second shock will shock these 3 rockets right here. Now, I have a non-standard setup here where this shock blaster is there. Now, what I am a little nervous about is I'm really nervous about this rocket launcher here because I'm having to stand on a hot pot. It's it's a little blurry because you're seeing on smoke, but it's kind of in my hot pot range, and I don't want to have to risk it. So I would rather this rocket here get shocked. So what I did is, my next shock point, if I keep with the rule of skipping two defenses and then shocking the third, that shock point would have been this one here, and I would have shocked these 3 defenses. However, this rocket would have remained unshocked, and I didn't want to risk that. So what I did was I deliberately skipped the shock blaster and shocked this middle rocket here, and that got all 3 of these rockets. That way I was not going to be worried about any rocket fire hitting my troops. So if you notice, this last rocket here is out of range, and it's not a concern. But I didn't want the shock blaster just teeing off on me because these are really high health shields and I need all the Zookas I can get. So what I did is I did a critter on this machine gun here. That way it can distract this shock blaster. So you'll see it here. My troops are settling. Then we'll flare the furthest shield to the right. And keep in mind, your troops will not spread like crazy on that one. But I throw the critter, flare the shield, and then I start my 5 shocks. So we're going to play this in half speed. So be ready to watch for it. We're right now at about 40% left in smoke on the smoke timers. So at this point is when you should start getting, you're really high up on the map. So this is when your flares and critters and smoke should start coming out. So there's my critter. Flare went out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So as you can see at this point, the shocks all just landed. We hit our 5 shocks. We nailed them all. And the shock blaster down here is targeting the critters. So at this point, as soon as smoke expires on this one, you want to get your flare out, and your troops start shooting. You want to get your flare out to the next shield. Shield generators. Let's watch this in tight here. And there's my next flare. So as soon as smoke expired, I made sure that next flare was out on the higher hill shield generator. And then boom. Last flare hits. And there we go. Now I did bomb out some of this, which you'll see here. And I dropped a couple of, I did some mine clearing, and I dropped a couple artilleries on this shield generator here, but that's it. So I want to go through it one more time again, that way you guys can see it, just in case sometimes, things get missed. It's hard, knowing everything that's going on. And we're not going to go through the whole thing, we're just going to do the top sequence. So we're going to 4-speed through all this. So this is flag deploy, going up top, gonna harvest a few cells, let troops walk up, harvest a few cells, then we've got a grouping flare that you'll see coming out right there. We're gonna flare at 3 o'clock of this last cell. Smoking up, and we're gonna cross over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There they were. So now you can see the speed, the timing on the flares. So as soon as my troops took that first shot, I was already flaring on the next shield generator. And then we basically take them all down. The next hitter literally just had to do 1 artillery on the last shield generator, and they actually gained 3 GBE from it. They spent 3, and they got back 6, so a net gain of 3. So it actually worked out really well. I hope you guys learned a thing or two about the hit here on Harmony, top shields, second hit. Please do me a favor, give a thumbs up, like the video, please subscribe to the channel. If you're interested in joining the Angry family, please go ahead and message us. We're on Telegram at AngryHQ, or you can join one of our leaderboard teams, say you saw a stream, and we'll get you placed on a team. So thank you guys very much. Take care. Dave is out.